Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Loudmouth Fisticuffs. This is the second episode. Thank you so much for last week. We made our debut, and like we talked about this last week, me and Jeff have been talking about doing this show for several months, and the conception of this and just the idea of this really started to come together. And we made our debut, and we got almost over 1,000 views from you guys. It was a wonderful surprise to me, and I appreciate all the support that you guys are giving us just right out the gate, right off the bat. And I can't thank you enough, because this is just something, this is a labor of love, right? Me and Jeff just love shooting the shit, and we love doing this. And I can't thank you enough, really, from, I don't know, it sounds cheesy, but from the bottom of my heart, right, Jeff?
Yeah, if you thank someone from the bottom of your heart, man, I think you're going to have a one-way trip to the ER room, man. I don't think that you can afford thanking someone from the bottom of your heart. But from me, of course, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, of course, I'm, going to extend that thank you out to everybody who took the time to check us out on YouTube. We were playing around with it. It was something that we didn't know if it would gel, and we were very fortunate that it did. And it's just like I said, it's two guys shooting the shit, just having a good time. And sometimes that's enough to listen to because, I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things that you have to think about. And if it grabs you at the beginning, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And apparently we've got some interesting shit to talk about. So I guess we grabbed a few of you. So to those few who checked us out and gave us those thumbs up and definitely shied away from those thumbs down, hey, man, gracias.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this week we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. There wasn't a whole lot of action going on in the combat sports world this past weekend, but there is a lot of stuff going on this weekend and then even the following weekend with bare knuckle. So I guess, Jeff, we'll just kind of jump right into it. Talk about we got a huge fight coming up this weekend, Jon Jones and Dominic Reyes. Huge pay-per-view card. I guess really we can just jump right into the main event and maybe even work down from there. But Jon Jones, Dominic Reyes, I mean, a lot of people, and of course this is almost the same story the last few Jon Jones fights now. Nobody has really given Dominic a whole hell of a lot of chance, and I get that. The Anthony Smith fight, the Thiago fight, like, I get it. Jon Jones is something special, and I think that, the UFC does a really great job at building up these guys with the promos and everything. Is, these might be the guys to topple the GOAT, right? The GOAT Jon Jones. And maybe this is, maybe Dominic Reyes is it. He is the what's the thing they're pushing with him now? Like, he is the maybe the best pure athlete, or I don't know, like he's one of the best pure athletes. He came from the football background, and now he's knocking people out, in the first round. So this is an interesting fight. I don't know that I really, but I think Dominic Reyes is a hell of an athlete.
First off, we need to go ahead and worry about that last name. Are you sure it's not Reyes and Reyes?
Is it Reyes?
I think it's Reyes. You keep saying Reyes. Reyes. You're really taking that a little high right there. I don't remember a Dominic Reyes, but I certainly do remember a Dominic Reyes. I don't see an A in there. I mean, if you really want some rye and you want to go, off camera, off your microphone and go get yourself some whiskey, hey, man, more power to you. But let's go ahead and let's keep it under Dominic Reyes. And that way we'll have a much smoother show. I apologize to everybody else. Apparently my partner to my left needs a speech impedimentologist or whatever the hell you call him. Yep.
All right. Touche.
I'm excited to see Dominic Reyes. I really am. I'm really excited to be, Dominic Reyes, especially with that really catchy last name, like you said, Reyes. I'm really looking forward to seeing what
I'm looking forward to watch Dominic Reyes. Okay, so
always a rim shot when you need one, late folks. But no, I am too, because he's 13-0, but I don't know about a hype train just yet. I mean, because this is his first outing against a superior athlete like John Jones. So, of course, they're going to build the hype train, put all these cars behind it, and hopefully this is the one that, effectively derails John Jones. Because John Jones hasn't been derailed out of anything outside of his own doing. No one has a legitimate defeat over it. I'm talking a straight up legitimate defeat. Nobody has that as of yet. And they're constantly looking. And this also really will give us an indication if John is on the straight and narrow. And a lot of people want to see him on the straight and narrow because, he's still somewhat within his prime. He's not too far past his prime. He's still in a position to where he can have that title of the pound for pound best fighter in the world. He's had it before. It's just unfortunately when he's left to his own devices, he's not exactly the shiniest spoon in the drawer, so to speak. He's kind of, fallen to his own demons, and we're just going to see if those demons if he's exercised them, if he's gotten them out of the way. So, and with somebody who's 13-0, you're definitely going to see that he's hungry, but a hungry man against a superior athlete may not be enough. It may not be enough to get the job done. We certainly will see, but do I think it's going to be an easy fight? I don't think any fight with John Jones is ever going to be an easy fight. I don't care who you are. But it's going to be interesting to see if Dominique Reyes is going to be one of those fighters that is up to the challenge and ready to say, hey, that light heavyweight title, you're just a placeholder for it right now. I think I'm ready to take that over. So we will see.
Mr. Worldwide, I would like to insert a slight correction. It is 12-0, not 13-0.
You would like to insert a slight correction? I think
for Mr. Reyes. It's
really need. We're talking about one fight, and you completely butcher the man's last name, and you just said I would like to insert. Oh my goodness, man! Give a man a rope, and he will certainly hang himself from the gallows. You're killing me, man. Think about your word usage for a second. You're a seasoned podcaster. Wow.
Wait, I might take that as a compliment. Is that almost a compliment? I'll take it. You know what? Even if you didn't mean it, Jeff, I'm taking it.
Almost.
Thank you, Jeff, so much. Thank you, Jeff, so much. No, but let's. You know what I think? I think there might even be an issue with hype trains, right? Because it's almost
there's always an issue. There's always an issue with hype trains. Usually they're never fulfilled the way that they bring it to the public.
Now, is that I get that's more on the UFC side. And a lot of people, it's almost like, in the forums and on Facebook and everything else, it's almost like when you see that hype train and then they lose, you have people kind of shitting on the fighter, right? Like, oh yeah, hype train derailed, blah, 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 blah.
Don't shit on the fighter, shit on the hype train.
Well, exactly, right? So it's the promotion's fault. It's
Don't shit on the fighter. The fighter's human. The fighter is human. And the minute that you step into the cage, I'm sorry, losses are 100% expected at some point. Some point in a fighter's career. Very few of them get an opportunity to walk out completely unscathed professionally. It just doesn't happen that much. So don't hate the fighter. Hate the fight train that went behind it. Sometimes it's way too premature because they happen to see something and they think, I'm going to make temporary money right now on this hype train and we'll capitalize. But I'd rather see a long-term hype train. I'd like to see a company that would put the hype train on there, but not necessarily put them out there as the GOAT, as the next big thing. It really has to kind of take its course based on how the fighter fights. And the thing about it is you never know. There's always that old saying, and I don't care who you are, this may be a little cliche, but if you don't like it, we've told you what you can do. If you don't like something, you can either change, you can either go ahead and stop this right now, or you can fuck off. It's either one. But the point is that no matter how good you are, there's always somebody out there that's better and that wants it and wants it more. And that's just the way, especially at the level of the UFC is at, So don't think that you are a hype train that can't be derailed. because you can. You absolutely can. And when it happens, that's the problem. When it happens to high-profile fighters at one point, especially in the female sense, like, it happened to Gina Carano, it happened to Ronda Rousey, the hype train behind them was huge. And when they had that first crushing defeat, it can actually do something to you psychologically.
Sure.
It can mess you up, moving forward. So be careful about that hype train. Don't hook too many cars up to it just as of yet. That's the only thing I have to say. I understand that the UFC is all about making money. I mean, it's a $5 billion company. Of course, it's about making money. But the point is that they're all about pushing the hype trains and pushing vendettas. They like pushing vendettas. They like pushing feuds. I mean, it's WWE syndrome. I mean, where do you think Dana White got the blueprint for it?
You people heard that, right? He said it's the only thing he has to say, which we know is not true. But anyway, before Jeff responds to that, let's look at the stats for this fight.
Yep.
We got of course 12-0 on Mr. Dominic, and John Jones is 24-1. We all know the one came from that stupid 12-6 elbow on Mark Hamill. John Jones 6'4", Dominic 6'4". 77-inch reach on Dominic. John Jones 84.5.
84.5 inch reach. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
We have a 58% win by KO or TKO for Dominic, 43% by John Jones, 17% sub, 26% sub for Jones. Average fight time, this is interesting too. Dominic is 7 minutes 25 seconds average fight time. John Jones is over double that with 15 minutes and 1 second.
Dominic likes to finish his fights. I mean, but not. It's not. I'm going to tell you. Not only is it his punching power, but there's a reason that they call him the Devastator. There's a big reason, because I'm going to tell you. You get in range of one of Dominic Reyes's kicks. Ooh, man, I'm going to tell you, man. Those are the kind of kicks that make even Joe Rogan wince. Kind of wince in pain, and that's saying something. Even though that I still think that the hardest kicker, in my opinion, in the history of MMA, that I swear to God, people who come up against this guy can definitely vouch for that, is still Douglas Lima. I think I know we're getting a bit off topic, but when it comes to kicks and feeling them, I think that Douglas Lima will give you a kick that you will feel for easily a month after the fight, man. If you've heard the shots after those kicks, it's just incredible. It really is. And he's definitely a good kicker, but so is Dominic Reyes. And the thing is that they both like to kick. John Jones is a kicker too, because he's got that long reach. So he likes to kick too, but I don't think that he has the horsepower in the kicks that Dominic Reyes does.
Their leg reach is a lot closer than their arm reach. Dominic is 43.5. John Jones is only an inch and a half longer with 45. So their leg reach is a lot closer. It kind of makes it interesting. I'm curious to see, because I'm trying to think. So Dominic Reyes, has he faced anybody?
There we go again. Stop thinking about the damn whiskey and do your fucking job. Oh my God, Rye, man.
You know what? We're gonna make this official. Are you confident that it's Reyes? Right?
I'm confident about everything I say. Whether I'm right is a different thing, but am I confident about it? Of course, I'm confident about everything I say. It doesn't mean that I'm right, but I'm still confident about it. Shit.
We're gonna look this.
You're not gonna shake me out of this tree, no matter how hard you try. Yes, the wind may blow, but I'm staying on my branch.
All right, so you're saying Riot. Well, okay, which one were you saying?
I was saying Reyes. I'm saying Reyes, and you're saying
Reyes. I'm saying Dominic Reyes.
Dominic Reyes. Okay. All right. Well, apparently, ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a moment to go ahead and finally get this verified. And if I'm wrong, something, I'm not wrong that often. So, it's not a very big pill that I have to swallow. So I'm not worried about it. I heard Reyes.
Yeah, that's what the guy from ESPN said. ESPN says Reyes.
I heard Reyes because I think Reyes would probably be either an I or an A. But Reyes, I mean, I've never heard anybody say Reyes.
Well, I tell you what I did know. I knew it wasn't Rise, which I've heard people pronounce it as Dominic Rise. Like, no, they don't do that, Ayez, Ayez. I've heard some people say Dominic Reyes. I've heard that too.
Dominic Reyes?
I have, believe it or not.
Oh my good Lord. Oh, folks, how the American school systems have failed some people. Oh my goodness. Pronounce these things, people. I swear to God, it's not that hard. There's an E there. There really is.
Reyes.
I mean, it's Reyes. It's Reyes.
Reyes.
God, how much time have we actually talked about this now? Man, oh man, this is the topic of the day. Is it Reyes or is it Reyes? Obviously, it's Reyes, so you know what that means. Segue into the next topic. Or continue.
Topic. Yeah, let's. Well, I tell you what. Quick prediction. Let's do a quick prediction on this because Dominic Reyes.
Nice build-up, man. Nice build-up, man. You even had a psychological pause there for effect.
Versus John Jones. I'm going to be honest with you. I do like Dominic. He's definitely a specimen, and he's a great athlete. He's turned into a great mixed martial artist, but I just don't think, man, John Jones takes it, and I think he wins. I think he's going to prove a point and try to knock him out. And I think it's going to be a KO, TKO, maybe second or third round midway into the fight. That's my prediction for the fight.
Okay. I think that's a fair prediction. But when you're up against somebody like John Jones, you just never know. You never know who's going to show up to the fight. Is it going to be the pound for pound greatest athlete, one of the greatest athletes that there ever been? Or is it somebody who's taking Dominic lightly? And Dominic isn't the kind of guy that you would take lightly. In fact, there are very few people who set foot into the UFC, into the octagon at that level that you should take lightly. So I'm not sure. It's a tough one to call because I think maybe Dominic could be outboxed. He could be outboxed, and there could definitely be a better chance for a KO or a TKO. But I think that if he gets within striking range of those kicks, that could definitely change the tempo. So, and as far as the ground goes, I mean, I think these guys, I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of ground games in this. I think because these guys know that they have the range, two things are going to have to happen. They're going to have to be within that range, or they're going to have to do some inside fighting. They're going to have to get inside in that clinch and, really work it there. So I don't know. I don't have a prediction for this, but I don't know. I don't know. This is a tough one to call, but statistically speaking, if we're going on stats, I would say John Jones to be the favorite, as of what he has proved this far. And Dominic just may be hungry enough to knock him off. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes it interesting because, I mean, like you said, both could happen. Dominic could catch him. He could catch him. He could starch him, and I'm not saying that that's out of the question. And I try not to pick people just for the sake of, just because it's John Jones, right? I try not to do that because I know a lot of people just kind of ride the wave and they just, John Jones is going to win. Oh, well, GSP is just going to win. Anderson Silva is just going to win. Connor's going to win. I try not to do that, but I just think in this instance, I think John's tools are so much more vast. The only thing that I think that John probably is losing to in the grand scheme of things would probably be the power department. I think Dominic is probably definitely more powerful, has more KO power, but not to say that Jones still can't sleep somebody. He doesn't do it a lot, but it has happened before.
It has happened before, but you also hope that John hasn't gotten complacent. That's another factor you need to take a look at. Has he gotten complacent at the top? It's lonely at the top, and you don't know if he's taking this fight seriously. And if I were in his situation, I don't care who comes across. If that title is on the line and I'm in the main event at UFC 247, I'm taking that shit seriously. And you got a target, on your face, and my job is to beat that target to an unrecognizable bullseye. And that's exactly what I would do in that situation. So I hope he's hungry. I hope that we see kind of like almost a rebirth of John Jones, because I'd love to see that. And so would everybody else, because, we follow John Jones for a reason, because he's an incredible fighter. And then we started kind of yawning off him because, he couldn't get his personal shit under control. Right. I would love to see him get his personal shit under control. And I would love to see him get back into the pound for pound best ever, because I totally believe he can. I mean, he's got the pedigree, he's got the experience, he's got the genes. He has what makes a great fighter. We just have to hope that, the personal shit is behind him and he's ready to step in there and friggin', get the job done.
The co-main event is Valentina Shevchenko and Caitlin Chookagian. I said that one right. I know that for a fact.
Chookagian, you got that right.
You know what? And it's interesting, right? Because like I said, with Dominic and John, they portray Dominic as the, up and coming superstar that's built for this, and he's built to possibly knock John off.
What does that mean, built for this? What does that mean? What exactly does that mean? Sometimes I question their choices of phrasing. They're built for this. What exactly?
It's one of those phrases that people, I don't know, man. People
sounds like they're throwing around a little lightly without it having much substance behind it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's easy to you can throw that out there about so many other fighters out there, that they're built for this, that they're built for this. I mean, go to the well and find something else when it comes to phrasing on that, because a lot of people are built for this and everything, but it's not so much a question of built as it is up here. Is your mindset ready? You can be built. You can be built to the shit, but I'm going to tell you something. If you are not mentally there, chances are you're not going to be physically there when the other fighter is getting his fucking hand raised. But I am excited about this as well, because I am excited about. I'm always excited when I see Valentina Shevchenko fight. I'm a fan. I am definitely a fan of hers. I believe that she has just taken to this division like a fish to water.
She's a fucking killer.
She is. She is. I agree. And wait. I'm not supposed to agree with everything you say, but But no. Because if I agreed with everything that he would say, then this would be a really fucking boring podcast. So that's just not going to happen. So he's going to say shit that is going to get on my fucking nerves, and I get on his nerves every single second. So that's just the way that it's going to be. If you're looking for, give and take and everything like that, there's a point of give and take. He gives it and I fucking take it. So let's, make sure that that's said.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Jeff.
Of course you are. You're supposed to. Jesus Christ. Didn't we just talk about this? God.
We did. But hey, let me real quick before you chime right back in. The point that I was trying to make was, like with the whole story that they're trying to promote with Dominic and John Jones, it almost feels like the opposite, right? Like with Caitlin and Valentina, I don't really feel the push that Caitlin is the monster that's going to stop Shevchenko. I get the way I feel like this is promoting is that, Valentina is the unstoppable monster, and she's just this is just another, another W, another stone in the.
More like a feeding.
Yes.
More like a feeding. Well, I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, every now and then you're going to have a sacrificial lamb, step up. But sometimes that lamb has a pair, and you never know. I mean, it's so easy for so many people to statistically, predict what's going to happen in a fight. But how many times have we, had all these stats behind us, had all these facts, had multitudes of years of experience of calling fights, and we have been absolutely 100% straight up wrong.
Yeah.
So it could happen. Lightning has striked, and we have seen really messed up upsets that nobody could have, so I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like it's a balanced fight as far as the hype train is going behind it, because the hype train's really more behind Shevchenko as of right now. You know, Caitlin, you know, they had to, you know, Caitlin, you know, I mean, she's 13-2. She's got a very good record, but I just don't think that she's up to snuff with Shevchenko right now. I believe that she's on another level. I believe that she is very grateful for the position that she's in. And, you know, she knows that she is one of those once in a lifetime fighters. And I agree. And I agree with her on that. And it's really cool to see her on a co-main on a pay-per-view. I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
Her average fight time, Chikagian, is 15 minutes. Valentina, 17 minutes, 9 seconds.
So they can go.
They can go.
They can go.
77% of Chikagian's wins come by way of decision.
Yep.
So she's
a much bigger fighter though. She's a much bigger fighter and stature coming up to Shevchenko. You know, Shevchenko's about 5'4", but Caitlin's about 5'8", and you know she's got about 1.5 inches reach on her. So I mean, it's not too much. It's not too much, but it's may have to have Valentina rethink her game on this one and spend a little bit more time inside.
It looks like too. Just looking at just some more of the stats. Looks like Chikagian lands 4.28. I can't read. 4.28 strikes landed per minute, whereas Valentina's 3.02.
Okay.
But absorbed per minute, Chikagian is at 4.68. Valentina's at 2.16, which tells me that Caitlin likes to, you know, she'll eat a few shots to give a few shots. And I don't know if you can play that game with somebody as dangerous as Shevchenko.
Yeah, she likes those kicks too.
Yeah,
Shevchenko loves those head kicks, man. She loves those head kicks. And it's always interesting to see someone who kind of puts things around their head kick game, because then I see more of a martial arts rather than just somebody standing there and trying to fight, because I'm still trying to I love seeing somebody who brings an actual martial arts technique, like a real martial arts technique of a striking technique that you absolutely can categorize in a specific martial art and say, that's what that is. That's exactly what that is. It's this particular style. And I love seeing that because, once again, mixed martial arts. You know, it's all about showing that technique. And I think a lot of these fighters that are sometimes a little bit more old school have been trained more on a martial arts side, that are bringing that martial arts to the MMA world. I'm always a fan of them. I think that's probably one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of Israel Adesanya. It's because I see so many different variations of martial arts in his game.
Every fight Chikagian has had, just looking at her, some of our stats here, every fight she's had in the UFC since 2016, decision. So she's never won in the UFC outside of a decision.
So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, is she primed for a knockout victory? Well, obviously, but I don't think it's going to happen over Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko. I think she's too. I think her game is just too guarded.
Yeah, and you know, for people listening to this, I don't want people to get the impression. It's not that I don't think. Like when I'm reading these stats about her only having decision wins in the UFC, I am by no means saying she can't beat Shevchenko. I'm not saying that. I'm just, you know, her style versus Shevchenko's style, because styles make fights, and I'm not. She's a defensive fighter. You know, and she knows how to win by points, and I'm not taking that away from her. But somebody like Shevchenko, man, like Shevchenko she's a world beater. She's a savage. She's a killer. I don't know if you can play that game with her, because she's gonna make you fight her fight.
But that could open something up on her.
It could.
That could open something up on her that she didn't know existed until she had the right opponent standing, you know, across the cage from her. You also have to think, on top of Chikagian's, you know, the fact that she is a good fighter to go the distance, you have to look at also her 2 losses that she has. You know, they're against definitely respectable fighters. She had a loss to, and she's never been knocked out.
Right.
She's never been knocked out. She's never been tapped out. in her career. She's lost by decision, and both of them were split decisions to Jessica Ai and Liz Carmouche.
Right.
So that means that they were both that makes it interesting because both of those losses were by split. There was no unanimous decision. So she has fought her ass off, and she knows how to fight her ass off. So that is going to be an interesting counterpart to Shevchenko and her game, because that shows that she can bring it, but can she bring knockout power? Well, she hasn't proved that as of yet because she hasn't gotten a knockout. She's definitely a decision tree. I take that back. She has 2 knockouts, but none of them in the UFC.
None in the UFC.
None in the UFC. Now she does have a submission. So she has 2 knockouts and 1 submission victory, none of them being in the UFC. She has gone the distance in that. So that definitely tells you that she has the lungs. It definitely says that her cardio game is on point. And that's going to be important. But is she going to be able to stand the onslaught that Shevchenko brings each and every time? And Shevchenko is crazy hungry at the top.
Yeah.
She's hungry. She wants to keep that crown.
Dangerous, man.
Very.
I guess let's move on to the next fight. We'll touch on this fight and we'll kind of move on to the next topic. But Derek Lewis, Ilir Latifi, and I wanted to bring this up because I thought it was really interesting, right? So you got the Black Beast versus Ilir Latifi, who is making his heavyweight debut.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough, man. That's a tough debut to make it heavyweight against somebody.
I think he's too small. I honestly think he's too small.
Well, he's officially the shortest heavyweight in UFC history.
Yeah, he's 5'8". He's 5'8", and I just think that that's going to end up hurting him. I think he's given up because, Derek Lewis is between 6'2" and 6'3". He's a big dude.
I don't know.
I don't know. The guy cleaned up at light heavyweight. He doesn't have a horrible record. He's 14-7, so it's not a horrible record. But he's synonymous at light heavyweight, and I still think he's too short for light heavyweight too. But the way that he's built, I understand. He has an interesting build for someone of his size, but I still think that someone like him could have easily cleaned up, even with this wide build that he's had. I still think that he could have cleaned up at middleweight. I just think he's too short for light heavyweight and heavyweight. He gives up too much height and too much reach, which is exactly the situation here. He's giving away 5.5 inches in reach to Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis, he's got a good reach. He's 79 inches for 6'2", 6'2.5". So he's, yeah.
What do you think the motivation is? Because here's the only thing that I can think of. Okay, and maybe I'm off.
He wants to be a versatile fighter. I think he wants to be versatile, and I think that he is synonymous in light heavyweight. And I think that he feels that this is the right time for him to make a jump over to the next division, and probably, I don't know, maybe it's Napoleon complex in that division. I don't necessarily know, but maybe he's wanting to make a statement saying, yes, I am now the recorded shortest heavyweight in UFC history. But you know what? Let's go ahead and let's look at the facts. Daniel Cormier is one of the more shorter heavyweights that have been in there, and look at what he's done. So maybe he's thinking a few inches shorter than DC, maybe I can even make a difference in there. Because the one about Latifi is a good wrestler. And I think he kind of has to be at that size. At that size, if you're really putting everything behind you on striking, your center of gravity isn't going to really do too well for you at that height in heavyweight. Because you have to work so hard to build up that momentum, as opposed to somebody who's 6'2" and 6'3" and can generate a shit ton of torque out of those kicks and out of those shots by building up that momentum because they've got that reach.
And once again, the stats don't lie. Interesting statistic here. Latifi's knockdown average per 15 minutes of fight time, 0.67. Derek Lewis is only 0.47.
Okay.
So it's just interesting because I guess a lot of people think of Derek Lewis as like, he's a knockout artist, knockdown artist, and that's interesting. I would have, without looking at this, I would have assumed Derek Lewis was probably had the higher knockdown average, but it is not true.
Well, I think that I definitely know that Latifi has been in the UFC longer. You know, he's been fighting on and off in the UFC since 2013. You know, Derek Lewis hasn't been around that long. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see, but, you know, I don't know. I always wonder about the shorter heavyweight. The shorter heavyweight is kind of like a wild card. You know, I mean, he's going to have to really fight hard to get inside with Derek Lewis, but he's also going to have to worry about he's going to have to rely on that takedown power. And Derek Lewis is also a tough guy. You know, I've announced him a couple of times, and I've been around him, and I could say even for a fighter, he's a tough one to get a hold of. He's a tough one to take. He's a tough one, you know. I mean, but the true grapplers will be able to find a way to take down Derek Lewis, and they have, because Derek does not have a ground game. He has got an incredible. I mean, he has improved. I'll give him credit for that. But is he world class? No.
Right.
No, he is not a world-class grappler by any stretch of the imagination. And I think, honestly, it would do him a lot of good to really up his jiu-jitsu game, maybe in between, you know, work some tournaments, get something underneath you. Get something underneath you. I think that he's young enough to where, you know, he could still do something like that to improve his ground game.
How old is
Derek's 34 and Latifi's 36.
Okay.
Latifi's 36, yeah. Yeah, so he's still young enough to where he could probably do something, but I know what he wants to do. He wants to be one of the heavyweights that has the I'll knock you into next week situation. Problem is, right now, we've actually got a stack of those guys. For the first time in a long time, we have a stack of those guys who could knock you into next week.
Isn't Derek Lewis, doesn't he have, like, historically, he's got a bad back, right? Doesn't he have a lot of back issues?
He does have a lot of back. He does have a lot of back issues. But I love what he does when he wins. He does that Randy Orton slide. Man. I'm just waiting for him one of these times when he wins to just stand up and just fucking RKO somebody. Oh my God! Talk about he doesn't really have to make headlines because I mean, you know, how many fighters take off their shorts afterwards saying my balls are hot.
And you know what? Speaking of that too, because he doesn't really have to do a whole lot anymore in terms of like promotion, because a lot of people, for no matter what, I think Derek Lewis could be one of those guys that could lose his next 3, 4, 5 fights. People are always going to want to watch him. And they're
wondering what he's going to say next.
Exactly.
He's one of those unpredictable guys because that came out of nowhere. With the whole my balls are hot. So when that happens, it gets people curious. It puts that little question mark over their heads thinking, what is he going to say next? You know, because that was pretty fucked up actually. And then we don't hear too many people, you know, standing next to Joe Rogan and then afterwards saying, you know, I'll smoke a bowl with you afterwards. You know, I mean, you know, I love it. I love it. I appreciate fighters that think outside the box when they're on the mic, when it comes to their personality. That's because that's what people want to see in there. People want to see the personality align with their fighting talent. They absolutely want to see that. Unless you're a situation, I'd love to see, we've seen it a couple of times. You remember the movie Warrior. Every now and then people would like to see the type of fighter that is not in it for the recognition. You know, just comes out there, kicks your fucking ass, and leaves before the decision is made, having no music and everything like that. You know, I'd love to see something. I'd love to see something like that as well. You know, somebody who's absolutely not in it for that. But just, you know, they know that the top competition is going to have to be at the UFC as right now. So that's where they go to fight. You know, they get in there, they kick your ass. They don't even stand around for the hand raise. They're like, I'm done. I've done what I have to do. I'm not a talker. You know, I'm not going to go out here and stroke anybody's ego. I'm going to fuck you up and I'm going to leave.
You think so? That's interesting because I've thought about that too. You think somebody could get away with that? Say in the UFC, like somebody just fucking starches somebody, and then before the ref even raises his hand,
it's a tough one. Knowing that Reebok is on board, knowing that Reebok is on board, and knowing that these guys are I'd probably say a year or two away from an IPO launch, which I totally believe is going to happen. The UFC is definitely going to be a publicly traded. They're practically one now. So I definitely see an IPO launch. So when you have those factors in place, sometimes it's very difficult to justify a true loose cannon. You know what I mean? Loose cannons are tough in a corporate world because anytime the looser they get, the more money that they're offered to play along. So I don't know. I'd love to see it. And if Dana thinks that this kind of person could pull it off, then maybe he might go with it. But I don't know. I just think that there's too many factors in front of that would deter a loose cannon to just run rampant about that, and also, when you're dealing with athletic commissions on top of that, some athletic commissions would actually fine you for that. It's happened all the time. How many times have you seen fighters that have been fined when, they get a good knockout and they get so overzealous and they actually jump out of the cage? Yep. I've seen people fined by athletic commissions about that all the time. So it's not so much Dana that I would worry about as opposed to the athletic commission. But then again, if it's somebody who doesn't give a fuck, then they wouldn't give a fuck about the fines because you're gonna suspend a hot fighter just because he didn't stick around for the decision. I think that's retarded. And if I'm using that word wrong, once again, folks, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. You want to go ahead and draw it out and draw your own conclusions to what that meant. You know something? That's your right. My right is to get on this microphone and start talking about what I feel and what I feel is right. If you don't feel it's right, Josh, do you feel it's right? Oh man, I gave you a beautiful segue. I gave you a beautiful segue to give me a good answer, and I get. Oh man, we're having. I think that this is illegal, man. We're having way too much fun. This can't be legal. What was happening? But yes, I do believe that under the right circumstances, yes, I do believe that a fighter like that could exist in the UFC if his fighter stock was high enough. Absolutely, it'd be difficult, but I do believe it could be possible. Yes.
I was just gonna say, speaking of people not liking what people say, did you happen to catch the? I know you did. You probably the State of the Union address last night.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you something. I am not a politically involved person in any way, shape, or form. It's gotten to the point to where it's just so ridiculous. It's actually comical. To the point where it is, and it's just so funny just seeing outright defiance on television. It was so funny watching Nancy Pelosi at the close of the address just basically tear up the State of the Union speech right in front of them.
And the people can't see this, but they can hear that, right?
Oh yeah,
She did at the very end. She ripped it up, and I tell you what, and not to get super political either, but just from a stance of, and I don't think you have to be super political to see that how childish and stupid it was. And like, if you're going to talk about,
it made her look like an idiot. It made her look like
an idiot, right? Especially the left. The left tends to stand on the pedestal that they are the morally superior side, right?
Well, it's you know what it was. It was, to me, what I saw were sour grapes. I saw sour grapes because she's pissed off because she thought that she was going to get the Senate behind 100% on this impeachment, and I'm like, are you high? Are you smoking crack? That would never happen. There's no way. You can get the House behind it because, oh gee, I wonder why. Because you're the Speaker of the fucking House. So I'm sure that you could that you had no problem lobbying pro impeachment on your side. But that's the problem. It was so incredibly childish. And there was also something that was really important that happened at the State of the Union address. Even though that this guy is not necessarily the most liked guy, and he's considered crazy left, crazy conservative, and all that good stuff. It was nice to see him get the recognition that his time into his craft deserved. And of course, I'm talking about Rush Limbaugh. Yeah, I think he's radical. I think sometimes the things that he says are just absolutely ridiculous. Yep. But the time that he's put into it the money that he's made over his time, the popularity that he has gotten from that, I mean, obviously he's doing something right. And for somebody to get the Congressional Medal of Freedom for his contributions, that's incredible. I mean, that's the highest honor that a civilian can receive.
I will say this, and we won't keep too much
time. We're
time.
not going to get into this, folks. If you're thinking that this is a political platform in any sense, it's fucking not. I'm trying to get away from it as much as possible.
I know you. I know you. But you know what? It does. I think it is. It is everyday life, and we'll get away from this. But I will just. I'll say this. I'll say this one last thing about Rush Limbaugh real quick, and we'll hop off of this.
Okay.
I struggled with this. I don't really listen to Rush Limbaugh. I know he said like a lot of screwed up stuff in the past. I know he's gotten a lot better about it, and it's absolutely terrible because he got diagnosed with like terminal cancer.
Stage 4 lung cancer.
Yeah. And that's absolutely terrible. I've had a lot of family pass the cancer, you know, and it's an absolutely terrible ordeal for everybody involved, right? So like I feel for that.
But he's had health problems his entire life.
He has. He's had health problems his whole life. You know, and I know that he's contributed a lot, if you want to say, to the overall, I guess, conservative platform, because he was essentially one of the first, I mean, truly like out the box conservative.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people call him kind of what's like the godfather of like conservative podcasts, because he was actually like one of the first, right? So, and I think that's great, and he's done a lot. I don't know if that's enough for he's rubbed you the wrong way
enough in the past to where when you see something like this happen, it's just like, you know, something it's not enough to erase, you know. I
don't dislike Rush. I just don't think that when I saw him get the medal, I'm like, I don't know about that.
You have to remember, this guy has been a force since 1988.
Yeah, I get it.
That's a long time to be relevant in radio. Not everybody achieves that, especially at that level.
Sure.
Speaking as somebody from previously the radio industry a shit long time ago, I can honestly tell you that staying relevant is damn. It's not impossible, but it is something. If you stay relevant, you are damn good at what you do. Yeah. Because, you know, you never know what's going to happen in that medium. And I just think that when you're that radical and you really believe in your stock, and even if you don't believe in it, but you believe in it enough to where it sells, you know, I mean, you know, he is a part of Americana. Whether or not that we want to acknowledge, or whether or not we think that his views are completely and totally loopy, which I do, I still think, and I respect the fact that he has been able to take his gift and take it as far as he has. He's gotten caught up in all the, you know, the fucking, you know, Washington D.C. political bullshit and everything like that, which is probably one of the reasons why he has so many drug problems in the past, why he's, you know, had these arrests and everything like that. You know, when you get to that level, it's, you think that you're immune to the regular daily shit happening to you, especially when you get to that level. And I'm here to say nobody's immune. Nobody's immune from that shit, man. It'll find you. It'll find you if you let it. I mean, also look at, he's a wreck. Guy's only 69 years old. He looks more like he's 90.
He does.
Yeah. The years have not been kind to him, but he has not been kind to himself.
And also what we got coming up, just not even like 10 days, right?
Yep.
10 days away,
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks away. BKFC 10. We touched on it last week. Pretty excited about this. There hasn't been a show since November 14th.
That's right.
If my mind serves me correct. BKFC 9, which was the Artem Jason Knight rematch.
Mm-hmm.
This one is headlined by Hector Lombard, David Mundell. Originally, we touched on this. Joe Riggs was supposed to be in the main event with Hector Lombard. He got injured, got replaced by David Mundell, and there we go. We got Jim Ellers, Caleb Harris, co-main event, and also part of the 155-pound title tournament. Then we also have Luis Palomino against Elvin Brito.
I'm excited. I'm excited for that one. I think I'm excited for a lot of these. I mean, this is one of the reasons that I love bare knuckles so much, is because it's so new that these fights that are being matched up for the newcomers, as well as the people who have been with us since the beginning or pretty damn close to the beginning, it's really making for interesting fights. And, it's so awesome to be a fight fan that is truly interested in what is coming up. I mean, how many times are we fed something from UFC or Bellator or whatever, and it's a less than stellar card? Right. Because maybe we're being fed it a little too much. Maybe the consistency is just a little more than what we need. We're so brand spanking new. And I think that is just a catalyst for us. And it's really pushing us where we need to be in the world of combat sports. And bare knuckle has its place. There are a lot of people that don't believe that, because there's still those that are lobbying against us, that it's too brutal and such. And like I told you last week, the ones who are crying from the politically correct, sanctities behind the glow of their participation trophies, I'm here to tell you, stop crying for us, Argentina. We don't need your tears. We don't need your tears. What we need your support. We need your thumbs up. We need you to realize that we don't need you to be offended. We said this the last time. We don't need you to be offended on behalf of the fighters. We don't need you to think that this is more brutal than what the fighters can handle. I think these are professional athletes. I'm pretty sure they know what they can handle.
Yeah, they can take care of themselves.
I think so.
I'll jump in with this too, and I've said this numerous times, but you have people all the time, these like MMA fans who talk about, and we touched on this last week too, right? Where the MMA fans who don't like the ground game and they, the snooze fest and the lay and pray. Okay, all those people that complain about that and say that stuff, I'm like, guys, check out bare knuckle, because it's
check us out.
It's a lot of the stand-up game that makes MMA exciting, with the exception of elbows, right? There's no elbows in bare knuckle, but
yeah,
you want to talk about exciting stand-up where the fight can literally, the tide can change in an instant. I mean, you want to talk about 1 second, one guy can be winning, the other second, the other guy can be winning, and in the snap of a fingers. You want to talk about exciting, quick rounds, 2-minute rounds. It's the pace is so much faster. It's so much more
faster. There's nothing faster paced than bare knuckle fighting championship.
And it's not a paid promotion. BKFC is not paying for me to say this. I wish they were. Dave, give me a call.
He said that, not me, man. Hey.
It's all right.
Hashtag not me. No.
That's all right. I said it. Dave, call me. Dave, call me up. No, but seriously, 5 2-minute rounds. Like, again, they're on the 10th event now, but I mean, my God, man, I really think they're going to take over a whole sector of the combat sports world that really isn't being touched right now. I don't think we're going to.
I think we're going to carve out our own.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think it's going to take over anything. I think it's going to be its own entity.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be its own animal that can stand and breathe on its own 2 feet. And with the quality of athletes that we bring, I mean, this isn't, in a backyard, surrounded by hay bales.
Right.
This is world class.
Right.
This is world class. And when people see that it is world class and that these aren't ham and eggers that are coming out there and looking for a paycheck. We had I will admit, at the first bare knuckle, there were 1 or 2 that maybe were just looking for a paycheck. And the good thing about it is that the ones that are just looking for the paycheck rather than notoriety within a new sport, we've kind of weeded them out. We've weeded them out, and they're not, really a part of this. But let's talk about some of these fights. Look how exciting this is. I mean, we've got Lorenzo, the Juggernaut Hunt, that's going to be going up against Gustavo Trujillo. Now, that is going to be exciting because both of these guys have got dynamite in those hands.
They're both fucking monsters.
I mean, you remember what Gustavo Trujillo did with his first outing in bare knuckle, man.
Absolutely, I do.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And Lorenzo Hunt, unfortunately had a doctor stoppage. He still got the W, and we certainly would have liked to have seen that resolved because the build up to that fight was incredible. It was one of those where there's some legitimate trash talking, and I certainly enjoyed that. But unfortunately, you know, like I said, the doctor stepped in and it just couldn't go anymore. And we got two guys that I'm really excited to see. I want to see, dude, Dat Win and Dat Win.
Dat Win and Abby.
And Abby, that's going to be because we had so much fun watching Dat Win fight Travis Thompson the first time out.
Yeah.
I really did. I mean, you know, Dat used his boxing, but he used it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, he used it the right way. He didn't get on his bike. He did not get on his bike, unlike a very world famous boxer that I will not make mention of and everything like that. You know, but then again, I'm not saying negative anything about that individual as well.
Right.
See, it's not a question of a negative. It's the way that a pro boxer approaches bare knuckle the right way. He doesn't get on his bike. He gets in there, but you can still be strategical and not necessarily just be on the defense.
Which proves what? Because, you know, that same boxer thought they were going to come in, and because they were a world-class traditional glove boxer, it just goes to show you that it's not as simple as saying this is boxing without gloves.
It is.
I know bare knuckle boxing, but it's not as simple as that. It's really not. And I think
it isn't.
The world got showed that. He got showed that, and he knows now. And Dat, I tell you what, when we saw that fight with Travis Thompson and Dat, he didn't look like a guy who was making his debut into bare knuckle. He looked
very comfortable. He looked very comfortable in there. But you know what? So does Travis, though. Yes. Travis is another guy who's very, very comfortable about this. And I have seen Travis, you know, at the end of some beatings. But he comes back with the same enthusiasm, with the same warrior spirit each and every time, whether it's a W or an L. As far as he's concerned, man, he is just happy to be a part of bare knuckle, and he's always got a good attitude. He's one of the guys that it doesn't matter when I come across him. If I come across him backstage, if I come across him at the weigh-ins, if I even come across him at the hotel, he's a guy who has always got a great and positive attitude. He's always got a smile on his face, and, you know, I'm a huge fan of his. Win, lose, or draw, this is nobody that I would ever run into the ground. You know, I mean, and the reason that is because, like I said, he believes in the sport, and he is a great spokesperson for a bare knuckle. You know, I'm a huge fan of the animal.
I'll chime in with this too with Travis. You know, there's a lot of guys, a lot of fighters I've met over the years, and you know, most people obviously they get paid to fight, and this is what they do, and they don't mind doing it. But you don't see a lot of people who are, you know, just ready to fucking go at a drop of a hat. And like anytime. A lot of people say that, but not everybody is really legit about it. Right. It's followed through about it. Travis Thompson, on the other hand, let me tell you what, he's the coolest cat you'll ever meet. Like, he's a really good dude. But I tell you what, you talk to him around fight time, he loves it. He loves the competition. He loves to get in there. There is nothing fake about him ready to jumping in and punching somebody in the face, or even getting punched in the face. He's ready.
This is the guy where if there's a fight scheduled at the weigh-in, and for some reason that person either doesn't get medically cleared at the time or is too damn heavy,
he's in
like that. They'll fly him out the next day on zero prep. Absolute zero prep. They'll probably change the weight class, put him in there, and you know what? He'll still make a good fight even with no camp. And that says something about a guy's character and how much he loves it. And look at how much he also advertises bare knuckle on his social media handles. It's all he talks about. So, you know, seriously, Travis, what we're doing right now, even though that we're completely and totally gushing over you right now, trust me, dude, it's absolutely deserved.
100%. You know, and I'm
absolutely, even though that I'm not a fan of saying deserve.
Right.
I'm not saying deserved, but what you've put into the industry this far, I'm willing to go ahead and use deserved instead of earned, because you have deserved this.
It's fair. That's a fair statement. You know, and he's on the card too coming up. Josh Boudreaux, he's going to be.
That's going to be a good fight too.
And I'm curious to see, because Travis, I believe he kind of switched some camps around. He's done some different stuff. He was training with Jason Knight. Mm-hmm. I know he's been kind of in a couple different places. So I'm anxious to see what adjustments he's made since the Dat-Win fight.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, one of the factors that you can't necessarily train for is heart.
Mm-hmm.
Travis already has that. He's got the heart. He's got the stuff that you can't train for. So I'm anxious to see if maybe switching up things, because sometimes I think fighters need that. You know, maybe not necessarily a permanent change, but I think it's good for guys to get a different taste and maybe train with other people and kind of experience that, you know, that iron sharpening iron kind of thing. You know, training with somebody like Jason Knight and the people he has over in his gym. So
well, I think one of the best things that he could do is continually change his camps.
Yeah.
You know, change with different people, train with different people, have different styles, adapt to these different styles. So that way that you're a better, well-rounded fighter, you know, in that sense. Let me ask you, what do you think about Ulysses Diaz coming into BKFC against Brian Maxwell?
It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. We was actually we was writing some stuff up.
He's another big boxer, man. So that's going to be interesting to see, you know, what he does. Yeah,
he's a big boxer, but and again, I mean, I said the same thing about Dat. You know, it was just making the debut, but he's making his bare knuckle debut. Brian Maxwell, he's already fought once against Jared Warren at BKFC 8. He lost the fight, but you can't put a price tag on experience. He's had that experience. He's gotten that first one out the way. So he knows what to expect. And I think the main thing that I've asked, I'd probably say 90% of the roster, and they all say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of what is it like stepping into bare knuckle for the first time. It's not so much, they all say the same thing. It's about like that first hit. The first hit they take, the first time they get punched with a bare knuckle, and they say it's so much different.
And they're not going to be able to. I mean, how many times, you know, prior to an event, you know, when they're doing interviews, when they're doing podcasts, when people are asking them, especially the debuters, you know, asking them, you know, what's it going to be like, and you truly don't know until that first shot cracks against your jaw, and you feel the difference behind that. So there is no way that you can judge that until you actually do it.
You know, it'll be an interesting fight. I mean, obviously, Uli Diaz, he's got some, you know, that purebred boxing experience. But then, like I said, you know, my man,
Brian's no pushover. Brian Maxwell's no pushover.
No, he's no pushover.
He's another one who's happy to be here too. He's another one who's very happy to be a part of bare knuckle. And he's another fighter that sees the long-term possibilities of bare knuckle fighting championships. So I kind of put him up there with Travis, you know, as far as somebody who's really proud to be a part of this.
We got Fred Pierce, Francesco Ricci.
Yep.
Fighting on the card too. Reggie Barnett Jr., Matt Murphy.
Always love seeing easy, educated hands, man. Yeah. Always love seeing Reggie.
I'm trying to see, hopefully, Reggie, give me a call, man. I'm trying. Reggie actually lives somewhat local to me, so he's out towards the beach.
Oh, okay.
In Virginia, so we're
Virginia,
we're about an hour and a half apart. But
okay,
man, I tell you, and Matt Murphy, people, he fought Johnny Bedford in the tournament, and some people have said that they thought that Matt Murphy won that fight. It went to decision, and they were both busted up.
They were both busted up. Yeah,
I've seen the fight. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't think the decision was wrong. I can see how people say it was close, and I'm not mad if somebody says Matt Murphy won. It's one of those.
It's fair enough to say that it was damn close.
Sure,
it's definitely fair enough to say that it was damn close, and it was. It could have gone. It could have gone either way. But you know, you could make that argument against anything. You could easily argue that Johnny was the prime in that one. You could easily. I mean, that's how close it was. So it's a difficult one to say. You know, but obviously we know the outcome. And we know, you know, who's right now the longest undefeated bare knuckle fighter in BKFC as of right now, which is Johnny Bedford. Nobody else has a 5-0 record. So it's going to be interesting to see Matt Murphy come up against the finalist in the tournament when it came down to that, the match that we all wanted to see, which was Reggie Barnett and Johnny Bedford. And we're going to see if Matt pushes that pace the last time that he did when he fought up against Johnny Bedford. So that's gonna be interesting. Plus, I'm also digging, man. He's growing out. He's growing out that hair, man. He's got that kid and play thing going for him and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I like that, man. He got that eraser head looking thing. I'm just kidding with you, man. The way that I see it, man, I mean, if you can rock it, then rock it. And that's the way I see it. I'm definitely not knocking it.
No, 100%. You know, you talked about just some of the stats from Johnny Bedford. He's got the most wins, 5. Check out combatinsiders.com. We have Knucklepedia. There's also a link that we have for all the top stats. In BKFC, we have most KOs / TKOs, which Jim Eller's Johnny Bedford is tied for 3 on that one. Fastest KO is Mr. Sam Shoemaker at 18 seconds.
18. And you know something, I love Sam. It's just, you know, when you look back on that, you know, I kind of feel bad because that set the bar so incredibly high, and it was just so hard. But I will never say anything bad about my boy Sam, the Mountain Man Shoemaker, man. I'm gonna tell you something, man.
Hammer.
Oh, the Hillbilly Hammer, the Mountain Man. I called him Mountain Man. I know he's the Hillbilly Hammer, but I'll tell you, man, I've been a fan of his since day one. It's just, unfortunately, when you get caught in a situation like that to where that bar is just set at almost an impossible height to continue to see. And everybody was making him out to be the next big knockout, and he has the knockout power. Everybody knows that Sam Shoemaker actually have some of the hardest hitting fists in the history of bare knuckle. But it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm so thrilled to see him coming back in March. You know, he's ready to come back. He's ready to make a statement. I'd love to see that one-punch machine gun get loaded up and actually do it again. So, like I said, you know, get the Hillbilly Hammer back in prime and ready to go. I'm so excited to see him back in March, and hopefully he can come back from that. And I absolutely believe he can. I absolutely believe he can. You know, he's had some luck in the pro boxing world. You know, I mean, he's been doing okay there. Unfortunately, he had a defeat not too long ago against, I believe it was Tommy Morrison's kid. Yeah. So, I mean, but it's all a part of the game. But I think I'm looking forward to seeing the Hillbilly Hammer back in Kansas Way come March.
Well, I'll say this, and maybe unpopular opinion, but I don't really care. I thought he did enough to win the fight against Chase Sherman. Just me personally,
I agree. I agree.
Thought he did enough. It was close. Again, I agree. It was a close fight.
Yeah. It was.
I won't say that I'm mad that Chase Sherman won, but I think that Hillbilly Hammer did enough to beat Chase Sherman, and that's just when they announced that it was Chase Sherman, I'm like,
You're entitled to your opinion, man. You are entitled. You are entitled to your opinion, and I'll somewhat agree with you on that one.
And no hate on Chase Sherman either, because
there ain't no hate on anybody. And just because you're preferring one in a fight doesn't mean that there's any hate going towards anybody else. Come on now. Well, I'll tell you what, man. I want to, if I may, steer away from BKFC 10 for just a second. I want to talk about something real quick that's really exciting that's going to be taking place this weekend in Costa Mesa, California. FloGrappling is making history on this. For those of you who know about FloGrappling.com, you know, an awesome production company that covers the top grappling events all over the world. They've been doing it for so many years. I was very blessed to be part of the 2019 and host the ADCC World Championships, and that was just definitely one of the high points of my career. And I got an opportunity to really work with FloGrappling, and you know, a great bunch of guys and gals that represent them. Gals. Well, I'm Texan. That's what fucking Texans say. They say gals. But anyway, they are actually promoting their first ever event that they're actually fully promoting and producing, and it's called Who's Number One. It's going to be taking place February the 8th in Costa Mesa at the Hangar. And this is basically going to answer that age-old question, who's number one in respected divisions. And we're going all the way from blue belt and black belt. And of course, this is a gi competition. So this is going to be a gi grappling competition. Blue belts are at 6 minutes per match, purple 7, brown 8. And of course, as always, black belts are at 10. So, and there's a lot of good matches that are on this, and the rules, they're going to be enforced by the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. And there's some interesting things going actually on this one, because the times that are actually with last scoring criteria are actually going to be used as a tiebreaker to avoid referee decisions. And I like that, because they're really putting it more towards the competition side of how a decision goes down rather than the referee's decision or the judge's decision. So that's going to make it really that much more interesting on the mat. And we got 15 fights. Yeah, well, not fights. I mean, well, I guess you could call them fights, but I'll call them matches. I'll call them matches. But the co-main and the main for that one are a couple of really big matches. Roberto Jimenez, representing Aliança, is going up against a very well-known grappler in the form of Keenan Cornelius, who's out of Legion American Jiu-Jitsu. And that's going to be a really big one, because both of them are former Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champions. And the main event is a rematch from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu star 2019, Nicolas Meregali, taking on Victor Hugo. And I last saw Victor Hugo over at the ADCC World Championships, and this is a rematch. And Nicolas Meregali, who is actually definitely one of the top grapplers in the world today, so that's going to be a really interesting one for me. And then there's another one I'm going to touch base on, and that is going to be taking place. Let me make sure I got everything right here, because I believe I have. Oh, Jeff, come on! You should be ready for this.
Shame on you, Jeff.
Hey! I'm a human being myself. It happens. It absolutely happens. Oh, where is it? Here it is. I'm sorry. I actually had it written up something else. No, this is going to be it's going to be a lightweight match at purple belt at 167.5 pounds, and it's going to be Jonathan Pisania, who is the #1 ranked lightweight in purple belt right now, is going up against, in my opinion, who I think is probably this kid is going to be the future of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I believe he's 16 or 17, but he's part of the very famous Rotolo brothers. Who are these younger brothers, these younger twin brothers that are just taking the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world by storm. Tai Rotolo. Tai is part of Atos Jiu-Jitsu, which is probably one of the best gyms in the world right now overall when it comes to submission grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he, on his first time in the ADCC World Championships, took it all the way to the semifinals. His first time out, as young as he was. And he was 16 when he did that last year. 16 years old. He was by far the youngest competitor to ever make the ADCC World Championships. And for those of you who don't know about that, that is the cream of the crop. It's the tip of the top. It happens every 2 years, the ADCC World Championships. And if you've never gone, if you have the opportunity, I am telling you right here and right now, please check that out. And if you can't go, then check it out on FloGrappling.com, which is going to be the new home for the ADCC World Championships. It's unlike anything that you've ever seen. It is the absolute best of the best in there. And the competition is more ferocious than almost anything that I've ever seen. It's left an impression on me for life. And I'm very happy to say that I will be the announcer moving forward for the ADCC World Championships. So, I mean, it's an incredible honor.
For the show on the 8th, so people can see it on flowcombat.com as well?
FloGrappling.com.
FloGrappling.com. Okay.
FloGrappling.com is going to be in the, and as I said before, this is the first ever fully promoted and produced event by FloGrappling. Up until now, FloGrappling.com has been primarily, a production provider.
Right.
For these events. But this is their first foray into that. And you know me, man, I love to be part of firsts. I've been part of a lot of firsts, and I love as an announcer to be part of first. And this is another first that, once again, that is really going to put the rankings into perspective and really answer that question, like I said before, who's #1? So definitely check it out. February 8th at the Hangar, Costa Mesa, California. If you can't make it, FloGrappling.com.
Absolutely, man. Costa Mesa, California. Guys, please go check that out. FloGrappling.com if you can't be there in person. Guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. I think it's a good second episode under our belt. Please go check out CombatInsiders.com for all of your bare knuckle news. We I tell you what, that's kind of been our main focus, especially as of late, really the last 6 months or so. I mean, we cover MMA stuff too, but I'd have to say bare knuckles probably our coup de grace, I guess, if you want to call it.
Your coup de grace.
Does that sound nice? Please also too, guys, if you like this episode, and I don't know why you wouldn't, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. You know what to do. Yada yada yada. I hate saying that stuff. Sounds like a broken record, but guys, please, it helps us out so much. And again, thank you so much for those who tuned in last week. Please leave your comments down below. If there's any part of this you want us to maybe something else you want us to address, if we didn't get to something, maybe you wanted to see if there's maybe certain things you want us to talk about that we haven't talked about, please put it right down in there. There's a comment button down there.
What the hell are you pointing towards?
First off, there's a comment section below you, Jeff. You didn't know that?
I know that, but the way that you're pointing, man, I think that he's probably trying to get himself a crotch pot going on right now, man.
There's on that side, right over there.
There you go. There you go. You're getting way too suggestive with that. Everything like that. You're making it sound like there's a party, and trust me, folks, there ain't no party.
Maybe.
How the fuck would I know?
Maybe. Guys, on that note, we're going to go and take it home. And thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We sure as hell enjoyed it. Tune in next week. Who knows what the hell we're going to talk about. For Jeff Houston, for Joshua Furs, this was Loudmouth Fisticuffs.
Loudmouth Fisticuffs. Put them up, folks. Have a good time. We'll see you next week.